Now, we bring you your Betfred Super League round 18-19 debrief. God, it feels like an eternity since Super League first kicked off. We start the action off at the DW Stadium. The Wigan Warriors getting over the top of Salford, 16 points to 6.
Yeah, we all knew that Salford weren't going to go brilliant. But I'm surprised the Wigan Warriors did put more points on the board. To only get 16 points on the board, well, I thought it might have been more.
Well, this wasn't your typical, oh, we're playing Salford, we'll just run over the top of them. No. What I saw was a very scrappy affair. And ill-tempered, I'll have to add on that as well.
Yeah, so very fiery. Got quite heated, I should say, at some points during the match. More than once. Which probably led to, well, obviously would be frustrations from both sides and like I said, ill-tempered. So,
well, in the case of Ace, there was one yellow card issued against the Wigan Warriors. That was against Morgan Smithies. But meanwhile, Salford, good God, what was Salford doing in terms of those yellow cards? Josh Johnson for one. And I'm pretty sure there was another man sin-binned as well.
So the first time that Salford had multiple yellow cards in the match. I can't remember the other one.
I don't think... I think Johnson might be the only one who was yellow carded. I don't think there was anyone else that did.
Well, it felt like there was a lot more.
Oh, well, just from what we know of on the official statistics, but...
Well, yeah. But, yeah, Salford and their discipline, yeah, it's not the first time that it's been how it was against Wigan. It's been like that before.
Well, I think, of course, when you get someone like John Bateman that has been known to be a little bit antagonistic in the past, that's the Magic Weekend 2014, anyone? Yeah, it was always... I don't think... It's not necessarily him, but there was definitely going to be some sort of niggle going on between the two sides. I think, overall, Wigan somewhat settled down first to take a charge with this, of course, or Sam Halsall going over in the corner, and then Sam Powell off the back of a John Bateman offload. But apart from that, there wasn't really much action going on. I think Wigan played it smart. They took advantage when they were given penalties that were given up by Salford, and they just opted to take the two.
Yeah. I might have thought coming into this match it was going to be obviously fiery, and it certainly was. I thought, let's take all points possible while we can, and hopefully that helps us come to the end of the match, and it certainly did. And like I said, they took to every opportunity they got given.
Now, I don't know what's going wrong for Richard Marshall at the moment. Of course, we've talked about, and despite the fact that Kevin Brown was actually playing in that game, I believe as well as Lawler here, as well as Chris Atkin as well, Kevin Brown's not going to be hanging around for 2022. He's retiring at the end of the year. Now, as we did touch on in the previous part, Brodie Croft is going to be joining the Salford Red Devils on a 2-year deal for Richard Marshall.
Yes, and that's what I mentioned in part 1. I reckon this is a good signing for Salford. And he's not going to make an impact straight away, but as the season progresses on, he will. And I believe that Super League is the right fit to help his career get revived.
Now, this is where it sort of grinds my gears up a little bit. Just like in the language that, I mean, all right, some can argue that there is a gulf difference between the NRL and the Betfred Super League. Fine. There might be. There probably, more than likely, there is. But to call it a scrap heap and just assume that every single second-rate player in the NRL goes over there and becomes a superstar, I don't buy it. I do not buy it one single bit.
There's been plenty of players in NRL that have gone to a club such as the Roosters or the Storm and have revived their careers. So it's not all about going to England to revive your career.
No, it just depends.
All friends.
Put this in the get this back in the context. Brodie Croft, 3 years ago, he was being compared to Cooper Cronk. Now, of course, it would have been impossible to compare him to Cooper Cronk because he was still playing and he is rightfully remembered as one of the game's, well, I would actually say, as one of the game's most underrated halfbacks of the modern era. When you get guys like Andrew Johns and Jonathan Thurston into the conversation, it's hard to for Cronk, I mean, he did his job. Brodie Croft, he had a sort of decent 2019 season, not spectacular, and of course and he was sort of the casualty of the rise of Ryan Pappenhausen when they decided that Jerome Hughes was going to play halfback.
Yes.
And his Broncos career was probably nothing short of disastrous, given all the pressures, the Cronk comparisons, and then the expectations of being the best halfback since Alfie Langer. That didn't help anyone on either. And you're going to ask him, this bloke who has had a rough 2 years at a big club which has struggled in recent times, you're going to send him to a Salford Red Devils side that is struggling on field, struggling financially, struggling to keep their place at the AJ Bell Stadium, so they could be on the verge of becoming homeless, and you're going to parachute him in and you're going to tell, this is practically what Richard Marshall is probably thinking, like, Brodie, you're going to be the guy who's going to keep us above the relegation line. That's exactly what you're saying. I mean, you're not going to say, get us to the top six, get us to Wembley, get us to Old Trafford. That is far from the point. The main point is you're going to win us games that keep us in the top flight. But as in my interview with Shane Richardson, Salford's future, and a lot of other clubs, but in the context of Salford, it's not looking good if this proposal that Shane Richardson put forward is adopted by the RFL and Super League's cut down to 10 sides.
Yeah.
It's mounting pressure on more pressure that this bloke has already gone through. I think it's a little bit unfair. But then again, we are still, 7 months. 7 months away from Super League 2022. Maybe he does go well. Maybe in a different environment and takes pressure off Tui Lolohea, who's been another abject failure for Salford since Jackson Hastings' departure, as I mentioned last time out. Who knows? But until I see some concrete evidence that Brodie Croft's fortunes can turn, it's dire straits.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he won't make a major impact straight away. It'll progress through the season. And once they get the combination right of Lolohea and Croft,
to another extent,
they'll start firing.
It's like Blake Austin. Everyone was expecting Blake Austin to go over there and flourish. Now, to be fair, when Warrington were on top, he did go well. I think many people would have picked him as the man of steel if you only looked as far as round 15. Between rounds 1 to 15, you could definitively say Blake Austin would be your man of steel. But 16 to 29, after the Wembley hangover kicked in, not so much. And now the fact that Warrington have gone and bought George Williams to partner Gareth Widdop in the halves, when they're both fit, Austin's on the outtake. He has not delivered on the promised land of leading Warrington to Old Trafford and to their first championship win since the 1950s.
Wow.
So that's... I mean, Austin's played well, no denying that, but he's not lived up to the expectations Warrington supporters were hoping for. And I think the moment he goes, Gareth Widdop, George Williams, that's where Warrington go. And with Darryl Powell coming on, that's where Warrington are going to go. You're more likely with George Williams and Gareth Widdop in the halves to get to the promised land than with Blake Austin. So that's just another example of Australian players going over to Super League and failing to deliver. So it's not just an NRL thing, and we've talked on a little bit too much about that. Now,
but Hastings coming from NRL to the Super League has been a good move because he's been absolutely flourishing.
Well, with Salford, the best part of Jackson Hastings in Super League was him moving to the Wigan Warriors. But you think about it, he helped Wigan to the League Leaders' Shield. They made it to the grand final in his first year at the club. Unfortunate that they didn't win, but they got there. Running fourth in the table at the moment. and are more than likely going to feature in the top 6. And if they get more of their players back, I mean, they've got Hardacre back. If they get a stable backline going, they could probably be at Old Trafford again this year. But there's still a long way to go. Now,
also, the Red Devils will have to contend the rest of the season without Lee Mossop, who has had to retire effective immediately due to medical reasons.
it's a bit unfortunate, but that's just life. Unfortunately, it is. Now, speaking of Blake, getting back to Blake Austin, his future suitors, as he has signed a 1-year deal with the Leeds Rhinos, they've gone down to the Castleford Tigers, 32-18.
It was a good contest, not scrappy contest, a very good contest. They were both in it from start to finish, but Leeds, I think, dropped off a bit near the end of the match.
Well, I think Castleford was in the second half. Castleford was definitely the better side. I think the fact with Greg Eden standing up and delivering not only just the 2 tries, because I think Greg Eden was the standout for the Tigers. 2 tries, 1 try assist, 190 running meters, and 4 tackle breaks. Not only did he have his own 2 tries, but then that one, I think he set that up for that was actually the Jimmy Kinehorst try he might have set it up. The Tigers just had all the running in the second half, and it showed.
It definitely did. And you could say the Tigers win was a bit of an upset over the Rhinos.
It was a slump. It was a slump breaker. That's exactly what Castleford got. The left there, they took on Leeds right side defensively. They took on Conrad Harrell. They took on Tom Briscoe, and Turner and Eden. They both won 3 tries down that left hand side. And then of course you get Peter Mataldier and Jeremy Kinehorst, who's bounced around a little bit lately, going over as well. And the ill temperament of the Leeds side as well. I think there was a scuffle where Peter Mataldier got sin-binned in the first half, and Leeds failed to capitalise after that.
Yes, that's true.
And so
Robert Louis also went over. He played for the first time in
a long while.
And he got a try, so that was really, really good to see.
Yeah.
He's still got it, the old boy.
He's still got it, but his place, much like Luke Gale's... Oh, actually, there was no Luke Gale in this game.
No, there wasn't.
I think it was Louis and Callum McClelland, if I am not mistaken. No? Maybe... Oh, Liam Sutcliffe, I think it might have been. And Sutcliffe and Louis in the halves, if I'm not see...
Well, it wasn't Luke Gale, put it that way.
Yeah. So, of course, Robert Louis got to look at it as trying to get in as many games as he can before he does enter retirement, considering Aidan Caesar's coming to the club, Blake Austin's coming to the club, and the questions over Luke Gale are now persisting. Of, is he going to stay at Headingley? Is he going to go elsewhere?
Well, if you got Austin and you just said it, who was it?
Caesar
Coming to the club. Yeah, I don't see him staying in that team for long.
Well, I mean, put it this way: Gale was a former Man of Steel, and he did help Leeds get out of the doldrums of the mid-table and got them into the playoffs last year. But it depends how the contract saga pans out, or just the internal frustrations after he lost the captaincy. He didn't meet the Rhinos' professional standards. And given that Leeds have already lost Kevin Sinfield already, their director of rugby to rugby union, and of course, then again, Austin and Caesar's arrival, it does sort of cast doubt of if Luke Gale does stay at Castleford. He stay at the Leeds Rhinos beyond the end of this year.
All right, if Luke Gale does leave Leeds, where would he go?
Well, I'm going to throw up 2 because I'm going to say this, and I have posted this on Twitter. If you want to check it out, it's at Real E Marcellus on Twitter. Just thought I'd stick it out there. I don't post that much anyway, but maybe I will. Who knows? I'm going to say, first off, in what mind, I'm going to throw up the Wigan Warriors and the Catalan Dragons here. In what mind do they even think for 1 second about signing Corey Norman up? Wigan and Catalan. Corey Norman. These three things do not belong. One of those things is different from the others. And it's Corey bloody Norman.
Yes.
And you, as a St. George fan, can attest to that fact that he does not belong there.
No. Catalans and Wigan are better off looking at other better options such as Luke Gale than Corey
I mean, Corey Norman, all right, fine. He might be about 3 to 4 years younger than Luke Gale is. But what has Norman done in his career that could warrant signing for a prestigious club like the Wigan Warriors or a fair dinkum contender in the Catalan Dragons? Just the way most of us see it, it's feck all, Your Honour.
Yes.
Just...
And if one of them did sign him, it's a big waste of money, like what the St. George have done. Big waste of money.
And that Luke Gale would be a much more worthy signing for the Wigan Warriors because, one, you could play him in the halves and you have Harry Smith there who can get some very good quality development, maybe a 1-year deal for Gale at Wigan, and he would be a massive influence for Harry Smith and for Jai Field because I would imagine they are the first choice halves moving forward for Adrian Lamb if he is still at the club up next year.
I'll say he will.
And as for the Catalan Dragons, I think their strategy moving forward, with the likes of Artur Morg and their fresh debutant, César Rouge, who will cover up very shortly, the future of the Catalan Dragons, if and when James Maloney chooses to depart, will be to invest in young French rugby league talent to rebuild France to make French rugby league great again. Yeah. Sue me for using that Trump analogy. I don't care. It's true, though. They're looking to make French rugby league great again.
Yeah, it is very true. And based on, I know we've gone slightly off, but based on Catalan's performance this year, they are on the right track.
Yeah, it'd be worth Catalan's time to give Luke Gale, if Maloney goes, give Gale a 1-year contract deal. It's the same story at Wigan. Give Morg and give Rouge 1 year to learn from an experienced veteran who was a former Man of Steel winner, a Challenge Cup winner, I should also add.
Yes.
And the first scrum half to lead Castleford Tigers to the League Leaders' Shield and to Old Trafford for the first time in their near 95-year history.
Wow. So he's definitely got a lot of experience on his hands.
It is. It is. It would be heavily beneficial if he doesn't remain at Leeds. As for Castleford, well, for them, there's actually still time. I'm 43.75 win percentage, 2 points behind the Leeds Rhinos, but still trailing 10% behind the 6th placed Hull FC. There could still be a little bit more movement in the table before things are all said and done.
Well, yeah, considering what we're heading, round 18 was just completed, there's still, what?
A month and a half.
Yeah, so up to 18 out of 27. Or was that a 29? I can't remember.
Well, now, speaking of the Catalan Dragons, we do have to talk about their performance over the weekend, and it was the top of the table clash with the reigning champion St. Helens, and the Saints ran out 34-12 victors.
Yeah. What was wrong with Catalans? Like, seriously, they've been going so well for the last 2 months. They're on like a 12-game winning streak, if not more. And it came to a crashing end against St.
Well, the fact that they didn't have Josh Drinkwater there, who provided the brightest spark in the Catalan Dragons and attack, and this is probably another thing that James Maloney has not really taken the Dragons by the scruff of the neck as of yet.
No.
And of course, Catalan were still a little bit understaffed, and they were fielding quite a fair few young French players. Of course, we've already heard the likes of Artur Morg and Mathieu Laguerre, and of course, this is surprising for me. The Spanish winger Romain Franco. Don't hear that very often, but
No.
this was really about the beginning of hopefully a long career for Cesar Rouge, the scrum half who did play in place of Josh Drinkwater, Joe Chan, Jordan Desaria, and the tallest man in Super League, whose name is not listed here, Content, I think it was Content Anton Lecam, 6'9".
Holy moly.
So think of Sam Walters over at the Leeds Rhinos, and then you think Lecam, standing 6'9".
Is he a winner?
He's a second rower.
Even more impressive.
Yeah, I'm gonna verify that right now.
Wow,
His front name, because I keep forgetting.
Wow.
Corentin Lecam, 22 years of age, 6'9", as they said, the tallest player in the Betfred Super League.
Wow. That is unbelievable.
And look, it was a bit of a wait, but when we did see him, it's like, my God, this man is a giant. Just imagine if he actually got some game time. All those offloads he could just pass over the top of, say, midgets' heads.
Even intercepts.
You'd want him to... I hope he's got a bit of toe on him, because he'd be perfect to pick off intercepts.
Oh, easy. Chuck, if it wasn't a second row, it would be definitely a winner, or fullback, or one of the speed men out wide.
That would be amazing to watch. Just him get a bit more game time, and there could still be time this year, depending what Steve McNamara chooses to do. But other than that, the reigning champions, St. Helens, probably one of the rare few times I've actually gone against the Saints, and I am reminded of why you never write off the Saints. Because the performance of St. Helens was just unbelievable once again. Just absolutely dominated the Catalan Dragons in the middle of the field and made them pay for their poor discipline.
Yes, which you don't hear that often from Catalans, like poor discipline and that. Although the last few weeks they have been coming from behind to win matches, so
something did have to give, and of course, was James Maloney getting involved in every scuffle or getting close to it. Whenever there was a breakout, when you thought, oh, is there going to be a biff? There he was.
As normal.
But, yeah. But, no, in all seriousness, St. Helens just... Yeah. At times, they are just near unstoppable.
Yeah.
And Lewis Dodd just keeps on showing, give me the number 7 next year. But I've got to tell you, Johnny Lomax, as the senior man in that halves pairing, 2 try assists and 3 tackle breaks. Of course, when you got artillery on the flanks like Tommy Makinson and Regan Grace, not long back from injury. Yeah. And you got Lachlan Coote scheming out the back, taking the pressure off Dodd, which helps with his third kicking game. Yes. It is unbelievable, the professionalism of St. Helens, that they can lose all these players, like your James Grahams, your Seb Tayers, your Luke Thompsons, and your Theo Farges, and they just keep finding players in their academy. They find signings from overseas, and they're just like, we'll put them in. If they flourish, they flourish. I can't remember, and I've been watching Super League the last 5 years or so, like I've been saying. I can't remember the last time St. Helens, in the last 5 years I've watched, that they have made a bad signing.
No, well, what's there been?
Of the high name ones, I should say. I mean, they've got signed lower name players that are just there in the background that fill in a job when they're called upon. But you think of all the big name recruits that they've had: Ben Barber, Lachlan Coote, Kevin Nagama,
which is who is leaving apparently.
Yep, Nagama's out at the end of the year. Theo Farge, contract fate up in the air.
Will Hopway signed with them, I believe.
Yep, he has announced on a 2-year deal with an option for a third as well.
Yeah. So there's changes coming into the side.
And there's whispers around the captain, James Roby, at the moment, whether or not he will play on at age 35. However, with the talk that Joey Lussick might be bound back for Super League to succeed in, although I haven't heard much of Aaron Smith lately.
No.
But
I'm going to say now the captain's still going to go around for another year. There you go.
I think Steve McNamara, ultimately he will be disappointed in all of this, but I think there will be a few lessons the Dragons will take out of that, and I think the next time they meet a top 3 contender, I think they'll be ready for it.
Yeah, and all winning streaks do come to an end eventually.
But put it this way, Catalan are still top of the table. They're not exactly in trouble yet.
Well, no. They'll be up there all year. They'll be up there probably in the top 4, probably even top 3 for the remainder of the season.
Oh, definitely. Now, the real intriguing game of the round, the Huddersfield Giants against Wakefield Trinity. Huddersfield coming away with a 22-18 win, but they had to come back from 18-10 down just to do it.
Yes, didn't see that one coming at all. I thought Wakefield was going to give Huddersfield a run for the money, but not to almost win it. I can't remember who I selected for that game.
Well, I definitely know I picked Huddersfield to win that one, so I get lucky.
No, but it was a very, very close contest indeed. And one that I don't think many saw coming, to be honest.
Well, I think Huddersfield got lucky after, not just with the fast start, but also losing Oliver Russell early on in the first half. I'm just trying to pinpoint the moment where he was sent to the sin bin. Just inside the first minute. I believe they've got this listed. I don't think it's the final thing, but Wakefield made Huddersfield pay with 3 tries in the opening 10 minutes. And it took until that's practically what it was. It was, and then Huddersfield got on the board, still behind, and they were able to fight their way back. Jermaine McGilvery getting a dot.
McGilvery gets in again.
And the way that Jake Wardle's try was set up, just to finish it off.
Yeah. Wow.
Impressive. Just to pull that off, to overturn an 8-point deficit for a 4-point win. Ian Watson will probably be proud of that performance.
Well, yeah, not just from that last try by Wardle, but the whole game overall. It was a very good game for the Giants, and one that they didn't have to win, but one that they kind of might get them on the roll.
Sam Wood was a clear standout for me. 1 try he scored early on in the game. 2 try assists he came up with. I believe both of them were for Jermaine McGilvery, or one of them for Jermaine McGilvery, the other one for Jake Wardle. I think I got that right. 3 offloads and 1 tackle break.
Yeah, no, he had a brilliant game. So, all round, across both teams, it was a brilliant game of football. Like, first of all, I know, not the, one of the premier teams of the competition, but they can show that they can be, if they want to be, and when they want to be, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I hope what I'm saying makes sense, because it doesn't always. But yeah.
Well,
but I did say that I did tip Trinity to win this match in 1-12, they lost by 4. But
yeah, and that didn't go down well for you.
Well, no, but I was still predicting the game predicting any game is hard. So.
Some are easier than others.
Oh yeah, but this one was one of those ones that could have gone either way.
Well, talking of games that could go either way, the Lee Centurions, unfortunately 15th loss of the season, but it came in the final 8 minutes, with Hull Kingston Rovers snatching the win 34-28 after leading 18-10 at half-time.
Wow. Yeah. The Centurions were definitely in this match. I think this is the closest of being
since round one. Since round one against Wigan.
I was going to say that this is the closest to being in a match of winning, like, literally all season. But then you said round one. So
Like that. Well, from what I can tell, Lee got the most out of Junior Sau early as he crashed his way through for the first try, and they were basically trading close to trading tries in the first half, but then Hull KR were able to get that 8-point gap over them. But then the Centurions, from what I'm viewing right now, they got out to that point, and I would probably think between the half an hour mark, or actually from Adam Sidlow, probably his first try, he scored, and Lee just threw the gate 8s back. From the moment Adam Sidlow scores his first try, Hull KR didn't know how to contain him, and then Junior Sau crashes over again. You get the scores locked up. Well, actually, he took the lead, and then Hull KR leveled it up at 28 all, up until the 72nd minute, when, of course, Ryan Hall sealed the win for the Robins, with 8 minutes to go for a 6-point win. I think John Duffy would have been proud of that performance.
It would have been, and if he's not, then not something wrong with him. That was a brilliant performance there by Centurions, and like almost had a long-awaited victory.
I think Lee fans can be proud of that effort that they put in, that they were in 8 minutes. I mean, it hurts, but they should be proud that they were 8 minutes away from victory.
Yeah, first one in a long time.
The whole year.
It's still a long time considering from their last win, whenever that was, last year.
I think it would have been 5th round of the Championship 2020. So long time between drinks.
Very long time. And if they won that match, the whole town would have been having the party.
And of course, the only game that wasn't played in this round was the Warrington Wolves and Hull FC due to positive COVID cases in the camps. So that game has been postponed and the only cancelled fixture from round 18. Now, and it would have been George Williams' home debut as well. Now, we move from round 18 to round 19, and we start off at the Totally Wicked Stadium with the St Helens side hosting the Castleford Tigers, with the good news that James Bentley will be back in the side for Christian Wolf after a long injury layoff.
Yeah, it has been a very, very long layoff for him. It'll be good to see him back. How much game time will he get? We just have to wait and see.
Well,
I'd say he'll be eased back into it.
The way I see it, I think he will start from the bench, and with Sione Matautia and Joel Thompson probably at this point preferred second rowers.
Yeah.
Depending if Morgan Knowles has been named to start at loose forward, which I believe seems unlikely at this stage. Not to mention the fact you've got Joe Batchelor, who has been playing in Bentley's absence on and off, as of late.
They've got that 21-man squad up now, so
it'll be interesting to see how it pans out for the Tigers. Of course, it was the battle of the left edges, but then you got the battle of the wingers between Greg Eden and Tommy Makinson. Of course, Eden one time was top try scorer in Super League with a record 35 tries from memory in 2017.
Wow.
When Castleford had an absolute gun year, beating St Helens in the semi-final to get to Old Trafford. But that was 4 years ago. And look, this Castleford side has struggled to get one up over St Helens, and this will actually be the first time they meet since the cup defeat.
Since the Challenge Cup, yeah. I was just about to mention that.
I'm looking at this at the moment, and despite Castleford finding form again, I don't think that they've got what it takes to match it with St Helens, even if Lewis Dodd still being the rookie half in all of this.
Yeah. The rate that St Helens been playing all season, repeating how Castleford have been going. Yeah.
If you want to take Saints on, you got to try and take them on through the middle, and the way Saints forward pack is going, I don't think that's even possible.
Well, if you go back to the Challenge Cup final match, the Tigers did start off well, but they couldn't quite finish it off as St Helens just came were just too good, like how they always have been. So that continues on, but the Castleford continue make that stretch out for the majority of the game. It could be a very close game. Could is the key word there, but I don't think that'll be happening.
It definitely is the key word on that front.
Yeah. Look, I'm gonna have to say St. Helens 13 plus.
Yeah, I would have to say Castleford also win. I mean, no, sorry, St. Helens, I should say. Almost got the wrong one there. Yeah, but St. Helens to win 13 plus as well.
Did I say St. Helens?
I almost said Castleford, but I quickly corrected myself.
Yeah.
After
So St. Helens 13 plus for the both of us.
Now, all the games on Saturday, but we start off in the south of France with the Catalan Dragons hosting Hull FC. It depends on whether Josh Drinkwater will be fit for this game, as the squads at this point in time have not been named.
No. Have they?
No, they haven't.
Oh,
so it would heavily hinge on how Jake Connor pulls up for Hull FC, as is the same with Josh Reynolds. But other than that, I don't think Hull FC are even a shout of the Catalan Dragons.
It's been a while since Hull FC have played a match.
It definitely has, and I think it's actually better for Catalan to have this game played so soon after the results again and St. Helens, to have a 5-day turnaround so they can forget, or 6 days really, but to forget about that result against Saints and refocus at home in the south of France and just focus on what they have been doing well, and I think they will come away probably not as convincing as they have been in the past, but I think they will come away 1-12 winners over Hull FC. I just think defence will still be a big issue for the Black and Whites, and if they can get their best team out on the park for this.
Look, Hull FC will definitely try all of what they've got at Catalans, no doubt about that. And with what you said, 6-day turnaround, well, yeah, you could say 6-day turnaround, you said? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully by then, Catalans are over their loss and have focused all their attention onto this upcoming match. Being back at home in the south of France, Catalans. I'm going to say Catalans 13 plus.
Okay.
But just in the 13 plus bracket.
Just in the 13 plus bracket. Fair enough.
Just.
Now, the Salford Red Devils are back in act. Excuse me, I've got a case of the hiccups going here. But anyway, Salford at home to the Huddersfield Giants at the AJ Bell Stadium.
Well.
It's that a time where we go up from beating up on Canterbury and St George Illawarra to then beating up on Salford.
And how ironic that both of my teams are involved. I know the Dogs are yours, but
I can't beat up on Saints. Where's the run in second, mate? St Helens, that is.
Yeah, well, the St George Dragons and Salford, also, you will know both my teams, that were to beat up the both of them. I know how to pick the teams, don't I?
And you know how to sign. You know how to sign players too. Look. The way Huddersfield have been playing as of late, I mean, it is a little bit scrappy from the Giants, but that's their third straight win on the trot in the last 5. So actually, Huddersfield are coming to this game in some very fine form indeed.
They definitely are. So they won against Wakefield, and then they won against Castleford.
And Hull FC. They beat Hull FC when Jermaine McGilvery bagged his quad.
Yes. And Salford, their last win was, I honestly don't know.
Their last win would have come 3 weeks ago.
Against Wakefield.
Yeah, I believe that is the case.
In round, what was the round 12 game?
Oh yeah, the rescheduled match after all the cancellations.
Before that, they had that massive victory under a B-side Castleford back in the what was classified as the round 14 match when we belted them 70-18.
I think if Salford are in with a chance, they've got to stop the Huddersfield right edge. I think between Leroy Cudjoe and Jermaine McGilvery, they have struck up quite the combination in the recent weeks. It's with the try-scoring form that Jermaine McGilvery's been on. It'll be very hard to try and keep him out of the game.
It will be.
And at the moment, he's actually sitting third on the top try scorers chart, equal with Jake Bibby, Adam Swift, and Jake Marmo, and 2 tries behind Ryan Hall.
Wow. So that shows that he's in brilliant try scoring form, or just in form in general.
Timing the form at the right moment, and he's cashing in on the dividend. And despite Huddersfield's 9th place positioning at the moment, the Giants, like Leeds, they're coming fast for the top 6.
They are. And another win for Huddersfield will definitely help their cause of getting higher on the ladder yet again.
I got to call this Huddersfield 13 plus us victory.
Yeah.
Now.
Completely agree. Because Salford also had to try and shut down Jermaine McGilvery. But as we know, the form he's been in and the defence of Salford throughout the whole season has been very, very poor on a regular basis. Yeah, so Huddersfield 13 plus for that one.
Well, in terms of Salford, they have got the 2nd worst defence in the league. Of course, we all know who does have the worst defence in the league. But out of all the teams that have a win, at least, they've got the worst.
Yeah.
Now, from the Hull College Craven Park, in front of the Sky Sports cameras on Saturday morning, and if you're here in Oz, Hull Kingston Rovers playing host to the Wigan Warriors.
This one could be a spicy one.
Well, the last time they met, it was actually Hull KR that came out on top of the Wigan Warriors.
Wasn't it by like a point or two in it? It was a very, very close scoreline.
No, I think you're thinking the other game. I think Hull KR, it was the 18-8 result. Oliver Gildart's first game back for the Cherry and White.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, I believe that was. I can always check it.
But it's still going to be a very, very close game. Like Hull KR, they obviously beat the Centurions, which, in all honesty, isn't that hard to do.
They got lucky.
Well, yes. And then Wigan coming off the 10-point victory over Salford.
Yep, round 10 victory. In beating the Wigan Warriors 18 points to 8. I think that is correct to the latest available data.
Yeah, correct to you. I don't know where this one could go. I'd say this one could go in favour of Hull KR, but then again, Wigan, they're just on more of a roll than what Hull KR are at the moment.
Well, I think Wigan are getting the bounce back that they were looking for. And they're still very much in this game. And well, in this at the moment. But they got to try and shut down the left edge of the Robins. That will be their main goal. Sean Kenny-Dow and Ryan Hall is probably the deadliest centre wing pairing outside of the top 3. He's like your Nagamas and Makinsons, your Jake Marmo and Josh Charnley at this point based on form.
Yes.
And I would say Dean Vare and Tom Davies as well. So outside the top 3 teams, Kenny Dow and Ryan Hall, dangerous centre into wing pairing right there.
They definitely are, and they have shown that more than once.
I think this will be an entertaining game, but at the end of it, I think Wigan come away 1-12. I think the Robins will offer stiff resistance, but I think the poise of Jackson Hastings and Harry Smith will get them home.
I'm going to go the opposite to you. I reckon Hull KR can put a dent in Wigan Warriors' charge back up. Well, I know they're
still on the top 6.
Yeah, but I still reckon Hull KR will give it a fight. Hull KR to win in a 1-12 margin. It's a very, very close match.
And our final game on Saturday sees the Lee Centurions at home once more to the Leeds Rhinos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Leeds are coming. I'll state it. The Rhinos are coming off not a heavy defeat, but not a small defeat. As for the Centurions, they only came off
a heartbreaking loss, that's to say. And we know, in some cases, not every club can take a heartbreaking loss well.
Well, yes.
So it'll be interesting to see how Kurt Haggerty responds with his side. Of course, Junior Sau and Adam Sidlow made their presence felt with doubles for both of them.
Yes.
I think it's a matter of how they respond to this, and especially if Luke Gale is available for this game.
Yes.
I think it's still a Leeds Rhinos victory, but instead of me going predictable and say it's going to be by 13 plus, I'm actually going to say Leeds win it 1-12.
Well, like you said, it was a heartbreak loss for the Centurions, and how are they going to bounce back for that? Based on their form all season, they're not going to bounce back well. Obviously not saying anything bad about the Centurions. You know what? I'm going to get this one wrong, but I'm going to say the Centurions are winning the 1-12 margin.
I mean, if you get it wrong, you get it wrong. But if you get it right, then you'll be a bloody outsider.
That'll be the prediction of the year right there.
Oh.
No, but, yeah.
Stretching the imagination a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, Centurions for me, 1-12.
And finally, on the last game of round 19, takes us to a Monday fixture. Wakefield Trinity, in the wake of sacking Chris Chester, with Willie Poaching becoming the new interim head coach, to host Steve Price's Warrington Wolves.
Who haven't played for a little bit either.
1 week. I've not played for 1 week.
Well, true. And Wakefield, well, they came off, what, that victory?
Defeat to the Giants and sacking Chris Chester in the same breath.
Yes, which I feel is a bit harsh. Like, come on, that's a bit harsh.
Well, I don't know what's harsh about a 4-13 record, or scoring less than 300 points and conceding more than 400. I don't know what's...
Yeah, but it's better than Lee Centurions.
Not by much.
Unless Trinity have had more wins than the Centurions.
Yeah. It at some stages, it is clutching at straws right there.
Look, with the loss of the coach and the narrow defeats against the Giants, I don't think Trent will be able to win it. Like, yes, they'll put a fight, like, probably for the first 40 to 50 minutes. But I'd say once the 50th minute comes around, that's when Warrington really put the foot down and stretch to the lead.
Well, I think Warrington need to be careful with this, because I'll give my prediction in a moment, but I think they need to be careful. Just in the event that Wakefield come out and actually perform in front of the home faithful at the Mobile Rocket Stadium, that would be my concern, that Warrington are lured into a false sense of security with this Wakefield Trinity sub. That would be my only concern on that. In saying that, though, it'll come to my prediction time, and I believe the Wolves, if they do not fall for the trap, I think they will crush Trinity 13+.
Well, that's what I was saying. How Wakefield go under the new interim coach will be an interesting way. And how they'll back up after a narrow defeat against Huddersfield the week before. They'll certainly try, like I said, play for the 50 minutes of them. Warrington put the foot down, but then near the end of the game, the Wakefield come back. I'm only going to say Warrington will win in a 1-12 margin. I reckon Wakefield will be like I said, playing for the first, really well for the first 40 to 50 minutes, and then there's going to be that middle period of the game where Warrington will stretch out, then they'll fade off, and then Wakefield will come good at the back end of the game. Hence why I picked Warrington in the 112 margin.
Well, we'll see how well Wakefield respond in Willie Poaching's first game for the aim as interim head coach, and how it builds from there.
Yes.
Right, well, that's your Betfred Super League round 18-19, I should say. Getting my debriefs mixed up a little bit there. But apart from that, that's all the time we have for. If you like this first part or the last part of our NRL debrief, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the Sideline Chat podcast so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Hope you join us again next week as we break down all the action from the games we just mentioned. Hope you enjoy the weekend of rugby league ahead. Along with Mark Hendry, I am Connor Marcellus, and you have been listening to the Sideline Chat podcast. We'll see you next week.